Nobby, give us a car we can all afford, will you? Okay, how about this then? 28 grand for the all-new MG ZS Hybrid. Massively popular crossover SUV, whether you're watching this in the UK or Ireland. And now there's a brand new model. We're starting with a hybrid version. There is a petrol only without the hybrid version coming, and there's a full electric version also coming. What else you may have noticed is the nose is quite a bit better looking than the previous car, and it kind of sits better on the wheels. Now, don't confuse this with the HS, which is a plug-in hybrid and quite a bit more expensive version of another sort of family car. This one is 4430 millimeters and 1818 millimeters in width, so length, width. Not the hugest alloy wheels, better for comfort. Let you in on a bit of a secret. This is the top spec. You've got Essence, Excite and Exclusive. Trophy is the top spec if you're watching this in the UK. And if you want the top spec version, you're going to pay almost 34 grand for it. But you know what? 34 grand is not a huge amount of money for all this size of car. And quite a better looking car it is than the previous version. It's got a 1.83 kilowatt hour battery. That will top up the car. The petrol engine charges that you don't plug it in, and it should give you really good fuel efficiency. We'll cover that on the drive. And unlike the MG4 when it launched, they have given us a wiper, lads. I don't want to get too excited about a wiper, but an MG, this is a party piece. It's got a stronger rear over the car now, nicer angles over the rear lights. We've got black plastic down here, some fake exhaust tip areas, and there is a overview 360 camera on the back of the vehicle, which you'll get on higher spec versions. And the boot is actually quite usable as well, because we have 443 litres, which is pretty good actually. And if you don't want any lip, no lip, you can raise the floor here, so you don't have a lip if you're trying to load things in and out of the vehicle. Parcel shelf is a rigid one, unfortunately, and apart from a kind of shopping net and a bright white LED light, there is not the same cleverness that you get in something from a Skoda, for example. But this is way cheaper. You get a 7-year, 150,000 kilometer warranty, whichever comes first, which is as good as you'll get from Kia. Let me know what you think though. Is it a better, prettier looking car compared to the last one? I think so. It has that oh so familiar fakeness to the plastic wrapping on the seats that makes it look like leather. But you know what? It's 28 grand. And it's actually perfectly fine. Even at the higher spec 34 grand, it's also perfectly fine. There's loads of space for the top of your body, and there's loads of space for your feet and your knees. You can charge one device at a time with a USB-A charging port. There's no center armrest, but there's not much of a hump in the floor. So the space for everyone down here is actually very decent. Something that would bug me if I just spent 28 grand or 33 grand on this car though. This headlight, good. This headlight, bad. It's full of water and condensation already. And I wouldn't be happy with that in a brand new car. In the front of the ZS, things have evolved a little bit. It's a little bit nicer in here. Now this is not the entry level, so you'll get a 7-ish inch screen in the entry level cars, but this one is the NAS one. You get the really good overview if you're trying to park between the lines. You get a good reversing camera, and there's lots of physical buttons for those of you that abhor just using a screen. But don't get me wrong, there's still lots of things that you need to operate from within the screen. But the resolution is good, it looks sharp, as does the driver instruments. They look very nice as well. When you fire it up, you get a nice MG logo flashing at you, and all the buttons are what you've seen in MGs before. They're not haptics, they're just good, honest, solid buttons that actually work when you press them. A weird amount of floaty space here. There's no wireless charging plate on either area. There could be. There's a drinks holder which you can slide left to right at least to put different size cups in. and keep them snug and secure. So you'll fit a flat white or you'll fit a larger cappuccino size cup if that's what you like. I'm pleased to report we're finally getting USB-C charging ports in these MGs as well. Just one, but we gotta start somewhere. Also, if you want to use CarPlay or Android Auto, you still need a cable. So that is probably a little bit disappointing. But the overall finish of it does not feel 33 grand. It feels good, really good. A big gripe that I do have though, if you drive this car a lot in cold weather or you like to have a toasted hoop, you won't like this for this simple reason. The heated controls, there's just one level. Same with the heated steering wheel. So you push that on and that's fine, it comes on and things get very, very warm very, very quickly, but then you just got to turn it off because you won't be able to take the heat. Why are there not 3 levels of intensity, lads? Remember, not built for power and speed. But actually, do you know what? It's quite okay. We're not quite at 190 brake horsepower through the front wheels, but that is more than enough. In fact, in any sort of slippy conditions, there's really not enough grip through the front wheels. So if anything, MG could have probably dialed the power back a little bit more. Pleased to report, it at the very least does the fuel economy it says. So quoted about 5.1 to 5.5 litres per 100 kilometres. There's your figure for the UK. And it's doing that, even at a motorway type of speed. And actually, I saw it in the low 4 litres per 100 kilometres at many other times. So it is very efficient in that sense. And that's probably the big USB of this car. There's a few. The price, reasonable amount of space, and how fuel efficient it is, despite having a 1.5 petrol engine. On the suspension front, it's okay. It's not too firm, but it still is all right into corners. There's less body roll than you might expect in this type of car, put it that way. The wheels are not huge, which also will lend itself to a better ride setup. So all in all, it's quite okay. Now, you really do hear the whines and the moans from the engine if you accelerate hard on a motorway to try and overtake somebody, for example. You've got a 3-speed gearbox in it, and when you floor it, it doesn't sound particularly nice. However, huge amount of the time, it's not using the engine, it's using that small battery to just keep powering the thing. So actually, you don't hear the engine all that often, and even at motorway speeds, it can do a huge amount in electric mode. So yes, it's whiny, but you don't hear it all that often. My main gripe is, without a doubt, how it just struggles to get the power down. I don't know what they're going to do with the full-on electric version when that arrives, because that will have even more torque going through the front wheels. For those of you who like your regen to do some braking for you or to put some power back into the battery, there's 3 different levels, but frustratingly, you've got to manipulate that from behind a screen. So it's not really something you're going to do on the move, whereas if you had paddles or some button down here to do that, you could. I should also point out, you might be expecting a brand new car like this to have a 5-star NCAP. It scored 4. Now, the test is even harsher than it's ever been, and whether you want frontal collision, blind spot, emergency braking, all of the features, they are in this car. So it's probably the safest ZS we've ever had. This thing deserves to sell by the bucket loads, and you know what? It probably will. It's not a perfect car, but it's 28 grand. And by our standards in Ireland, or 22 if you're watching in the UK, there's really not a huge amount else out there for the size of it, the usefulness of it, the fuel efficiency of it. And even if you want to go for the higher spec with the nicer colour, it's still not going to break the bank. So if you need something that just is a solid little car to get you and your family around, just go and buy it. Seriously. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.